This week on Technically Managing.
One day I made a Twitter account and kind of started replying to people's content that I found helpful myself. Like in my first 2 weeks, I had already had about 4,000 followers. Because I get a DM from Kay shortly after Twitter DM that basically was like, "We love your enthusiasm and your passion," and um, basically she asked me if I would like to intern in like 2 months, the summer, upcoming summer, which was in 2 months at the time. And I remember going to my husband, and I'm like, "What do you think about this DM?" I remember thinking it was a scam. I remember like, this is
A
not
bot, a
real.
robot.
Like this isn't how it works, right?
Yeah.
But I want to share like what I've always really appreciated about you first. I like just seeing you on social media and chatting with you directly and just seeing this like positive, optimistic attitude that you have in this like sea of negativity that seems to be getting like more and more intense everywhere. It like inspires me. It's like I'll be like getting a little grumpy and you and I will just be like sharing our little dumbass jokes in Slack and like it makes me feel better. And I'm like, okay, like this rejuvenates me. It's like something I've noticed with you is that you really do help people kind of like kindle that positive flame and it affects like all those around you. And it's like a very impressive thing that's not something that can be like expressed on a resume. Okay, we're live. Welcome to Technically Managing number 16, the podcast where we're technically managing in life and in our jobs as product managers. I'm Zachary Telke,
And I'm Ramu Murakami.
and
And
we
today
have our
we have a
second
guest.
guest. Yeah,
Yay.
Layla Massey.
Thanks for having me. I've watched like every episode. I've been super pumped to be invited as a guest.
Have
Thank
you
you.
actually watched every episode?
Honestly, I've definitely skimmed over pretty much every episode, but I just because it's so cute. I've always wanted to
Oh,
start like my own little podcast thing. So I really admire you guys for, yeah, it's really cool.
I
Yeah, you
appreciate
should
that.
start one.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's cool. I've always
It's
wanted
so
to try to have my own, but it's hard work. So
yeah,
props to y'all.
we've like definitely learned that because we like started doing this. And what were we like initially every other week?
Yep, every other week.
Yeah, that was aggressive. And now we're
I
like
bet.
aiming for once a month.
You're like,
Yep,
let's tone it down.
Yeah.
for
That's
But
funny.
we
sure.
should introduce you for people who don't know. So you started out as a software development intern on I guess like you'd call it like the database tools org that you and I both fall under, and you just started up full time in your role. Uh, when did you officially like get your offer letter? Because I know it was like the end of the summer.
Yeah, I finished my summer internship August 25th, and then I got like I had like a tentative start date of maybe like September 11th. Um, like I props to everybody that really like tackled my offer letter and stuff because they like got the ball rolling like so fast after my summer internship. I got my offer letter. I think it was on a Saturday. It was like I was on a walk into the most random email ever. I literally like started crying on my walk. Um,
Aw.
but I think it was like because I started the 25th. I believe it was sometime after September 11th that I got my offer letter. But yeah, on a Saturday, and it was definitely just like the one of the like biggest moments of my life, I think, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
So yeah.
So wait, can we backtrack? So okay,
Yeah, I
I
want
kind
to
of
hear
want
the
to
whole.
know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh wait, no, I think we're on the same page. But it's like I want to
Yeah.
like run through your whole story for the
Mhm.
listeners, just because it is like so interesting, and I feel like you've like had a very like non-conventional route to Oracle, but like also a super impactful one. So it's like I want to hear from like start to finish, like with the
Yep,
three kind of big milestones being like what got you interested in tech and being like a software development or software
exactly.
developer, like software development in general, what led up to the Oracle internship, and then like what led up to the Oracle job offer. Like I
Okay.
want to know like
So
all about your whole journey.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to know like, like where you're located,
Mhm.
and when you started, like what were you thinking when you decided to go into whatever major you went into? I don't know your major yet.
yeah.
But yeah. And I have
Okay.
questions too, so
Yeah. So I I guess I'll like kind of start from the beginning. I'm obviously a community college student here in Austin, Texas. So I go to ACC. Austin Community College is probably like one of the biggest community colleges in Central Texas, and the only community college to offer. I think they offer about three different bachelor's degrees. One of them is actually a software development bachelor's. I think another's nursing, and I think a third is cybersecurity, which is obviously incredible for anybody and everybody. But basically, I was a business administration major at my community college. I believe this was maybe 2021. But I was taking a financial accounting class and did really, really well. And my professor at the time had essentially just pulled me aside after our final exams and told me that I could go far beyond a business administration major. She, I guess, had noticed my problem solving skills and kind of like my passion for, gosh, like checks and balances. Accounting was really satisfying for me. Um, I don't know what it was. It was doing, the income statements and just et cetera, so forth. It was all like super, super, it like itched a little tick in my brain. And my professor basically told me, had like, she was like, do you know about computer science? And I was like, no, what is that? Never heard of that in my life. My high school didn't provide any sort of coding, computer science, etc. classes. We just had maybe like BIM and DIM. I don't know if anybody knows about those. It's like like design classes with Photoshop and Microsoft Word class where you practice your typing. So I didn't really have any knowledge of computer science or programming or anything as far as beyond my dad is an engineer at Dell, so I used to go into the Dell labs with him as a child, and I always used to be very big into computers and blogging and content creation and having a website at 11, but I never really sat down and programmed. So that professor's actually the one that had me like change my major from business administration to computer science. Um, and my first semester starting computer science, I believe it was, gosh, and it feels so long ago now. It's all like jumbled together, but I think it was like fall 2022 or 20, see, somewhere in 2021. Either way, my first semester of computer science, I actually got into a horrible car wreck. I broke my right arm and had to completely like drop my classes. And gosh, that put me back in my kind of college journey about maybe because I had to cast for a few months, and then I actually got the cast off and had to go into surgery and get some hardware put in my arm, and then I had to go back into a cast. So it felt like it was like a whole year just lost, or like 6 to 9 months just physical therapy. And so once I was able to actually go back to school and start my computer science degree, I started with Python, and that was super fun. Um, and then I actually get to a database programming course, and that's when I'm using SQL, Oracle SQL, and Oracle database. And that's when kind of this whole journey begins. I think that was my second semester into my computer science
So,
major.
quick questions. Sorry, before you go into
Oh,
it.
you're fine.
So when you decided to go into business administration, did you do any research or anything? Like, for example, I know that when I went back to school for my master's, I did some research on definitely like how much money I would make if I were to go into tech, and if I would like what I was doing. So, you know, why did you pick business administration, and why, like, did you do any research before going into computer science that actually
Yeah,
made you say yes to that?
yeah. Honestly, I won't lie, 18, my parents divorced. I kind of chose business administration just because I didn't know what else to pick.
Mhm.
I didn't have really any direction from my parents or any adult figure in my life. Um, and it's another funny thing. That's why I was, sharing my story and stuff. I've always tried to make note of, I don't have a very normal college journey. That's why it's taken me so long to get to where I am, is because I've, had to do it all on my own. Um, which is okay and it's great and it makes me
Right.
appreciate everything that I have that has come to me so much more. Um, but I honestly just picked it because, I mean, my boyfriend at the time, that's now my husband, finance major, and he was in sales, SaaS sales, software sales, and I was like, shit, that kind of looks fun. I guess I'll try it. Like, I'm a good talker. I'm a good, I could, I'm a good salesperson. Like, I feel like I could really, and I don't know what else I'm good at. Honestly, genuinely, I did not know what I was good at the time. I hadn't had a chance to really try new things, especially in high school. I mean, I just played volleyball and didn't get to go to college for volleyball. So I'm kind of just like, well, you know, uh, so that kind of fell into my lap. And then so thankful for that professor that genuinely was told me, you are good at this. You should try that. Like, I've noticed that this is like a skill that has stood out to me, like amongst 30 other students.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so yeah, and that was like, you know what, maybe I am really good at this and I think I could do this. And I genuinely don't think I looked up any sort of research or information looking back. I don't I don't even think I did that. I think I like went onto my community college's website, looked at the kind of like the degree plan and the route I was going to have to take and the classes I'd have to go through, and it said that, estimated, you know, developers in Texas, this is, after you get this, go through this program, this is, what we assume that you'd make. And that's kind of all I did. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. So yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
have
no, that
like
makes sense.
with the whole like switch to computer science, like I know you're saying that it was something that you really hadn't thought of before and it was like largely directed by your professor's guidance. Did you ever like make the connection though? Because I think you were alluding a bit to how you've always been, at least to a degree, like immersed in the internet. Like you said that you started your first website at 11. Like what was that like? Like how would you describe yourself as like someone who's like always very like curious about the internet? Because just even kind of going off my own experience when I was switching from finance to tech, one of the things I thought about was like, hey, I don't really have any kind of computer science background, but tech does interest me. And I feel like culturally, just because I've always been like so like internet immersed, like big gamer, having friends all across to like the country growing up and stuff like that. I felt like it was kind of like a cultural thing where pieces kind of came into place that I might not have like realized at the time.
Yeah, I started that blog at 11 years old, and it was about Club Penguin. Um, yeah, I know. But
I was more
it
of a
got,
Webkins kid, but people
I
love their
was
Club
Webkins
Penguin.
too. I was Webkins. God, there's so many little websites at the time. I remember I was just so obsessed with that I would
RuneScape
just
at
like,
all?
yes, I would log
I
on in the morning in the summers, like, oh my God, from like
My
9
cousin and
a.m. to 9
I,
p.m.
that was like literally our game and like our like young, I don't even know what age it'd be, like 10 to 14 maybe kind of thing. We were like super into it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's that's kind of what I was at. But I started that. I've always been very interested in the internet and stuff. Haven't really been super submersed in actual coding and programming. But when I was a kid, my dad still works at Dell now as a hardware engineer. But he always used to take me into the Dell labs, and I was always around people that were talking about tech and talking about, hardware and storage, and I just feel like that kind of like I subconsciously probably soaked it up. So as I've grown, I've always feel like I've just been very tied to, especially content creation. I feel like that's, always come very naturally to me. Like, I was 11 making YouTube videos, making little screenshots and making content, basically showing people where like little hidden items were in Club Penguin, and and like I would literally go into paint and like circle something, and this is where you can find the hidden sweatshirt for your penguin. Like just go, like I would literally do like guides for events and how to find it. Was so I think I it's always kind of been in there
Do you have any
probably.
thoughts on like where that itch came from? Because I feel like they're like different people. They're like people who are like really into like reading up on all the guides on the games, like super into like finding the new games and playing it, or maybe even like joining certain communities online. But like the whole like content creation bug was one that I've like always found very interesting. So I'm kind of like curious, like, do you remember where that like impulse and that desire to share these things with the world like came from?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like as a kid, I've just like looking back, I started playing soccer, starting 3 years old to 11, then from 12 on, I did volleyball. I've always been very competitive.
Mm.
I want to stand out. I want to be the best. It sounds so cringe. I want to stand out. I want to be the best. I want to be known for things that I love and I'm passionate about. I don't know. I've always just wanted to provide things of substance and just be known for that. I think subconsciously, now that I'm adult, I like feel like I'm tapping into that more. But when I was 11, sorry, my dogs. When I was 11, I feel like I was, truly just enjoying the process. Like I genuinely enjoy this game, and I'm just gonna make content for it. And it kind of feels the same now, with Oracle. The whole, being an intern there. Even before I was an intern, I was making content about Oracle database and Oracle SQL, and I literally had no tie to Oracle at all. I was just a community college student. Um, just making content just because I was passionate about it and it was fun. So it kind of felt like everything for me kind of came full circle. Especially when Oracle reached out to me. Oh my god, my dogs! My husband just got home. They're going crazy. But I feel like it kind of came full circle for me that you know, as a child I was making content, it's something I was so passionate about, and as an adult, still here I am, making content about something, a company, and you know XYZ that I'm so passionate about. So
I think that is so crazy that you were making basically documentation. I didn't grow up in the US, so like I don't know what penguin
Love
circle is.
penguin
Club
documentation.
Right,
Penguin,
but
Club
you were
Penguin, yeah,
basically making documentation already, like
yeah.
kind of
I
translating
didn't
it to like a Confluence page, you know?
genuinely, I didn't think about it like that. It was like documentation essentially for a
Right,
little child's game.
exactly.
That's so funny. I
Wow.
didn't. That's so
Funny.
funny.
You were building your skills already, like at this point you could put that in your resume as, I have this X amount of experience on documentation.
Technical writer for Club Penguin.
Right. I was so bummed when they closed it down too. My website's still live to this day. I'm still so proud. I was 11 and got 30,000 views on it.
Oh
And that's
wow.
something I'll always brag
Wow.
about. Like my blog, even as an adult now, only maybe has 50,000 views. Like my Hashnode blog.
Only, okay? Only
Yeah.
50,000 views,
But
okay.
I'm barely beating my 11-year-old self by like that
Right.
much.
I like the idea you're
But
just competing against like little 11-year-old like Layla who's looking at you all
yeah.
smug. Like,
Like my Club Penguin blog literally got like just almost nearly as much as your like helpful coding blog about Python and Oracle database and setting up your own autonomous database, and so it's okay.
yeah, so like when did I guess like the tech blogging and like social media accounts come into the picture? So in the story so far, you've switched over to computer science. You're still at Austin Community College studying that. Have you started doing the social stuff in the blogs at this point yet, or is like this when it starts to kind of like come into the picture?
It definitely comes into the picture when I switched my major. I think after my first semester, um, I remember my first semester I had Python and a few other classes, and I was actually on campus and really immersed with my fellow like classmates, and we were literally like in the computer lab struggling and like grinding together. It was so fun. Like when I look back, like that was such like a cool experience to be able to let's like sit in the computer lab, like even like an hour after the exam was supposed to end, our professor's still in there. She's like, we're just sitting in this computer lab, like struggling on this exam an hour after the time it was supposed to end. So when COVID hit, literally like not having that was devastating, it felt like. So I went to Twitter to find like some sort of community that I could like resonate with others, everybody like 'cause I was struggling. I'm a new computer science student and I'm learning things that I've never done in my life before. Like, my second semester I had C++, and that was, oh my God, I just can't. And on top of like, your other general studies, but these programming classes were intense. And then, COVID, you're fully online, nobody can go into the campus anymore. There's no sense of community at all. So I was lurking on Twitter for a long time, and it was weird to me. It seemed like that there was just like this niche community like within Twitter, um, and just like a bunch of developers and product managers and just like UI UX designers, like anybody that was remotely like involved in tech at all was just like in this community tweeting, like putting content out, whether it be cheat sheets or blog posts about, breaking down like intricate, concepts, programming concepts, or people were just like, it was just like this whole like buzzing. It felt like it was all just, I don't know. So I lurked for a bit, and then one day I made a Twitter account and kind of started replying to people's content that I found helpful myself, going through C++ and at the time, um and then one day I was like, well, I guess I could start tweeting myself. I was like, I don't know like how it would, how it would go. Um, but I remember my first media tweet was an HTML cheat sheet, and I think that got like 600 likes. And
Wow.
at the time, I know, and at the time
That's
I
like
think I
huge
had like
for, yeah.
a new account. I know. So I was like,
So
oh
just
wait,
quick question. How many followers did you have when you got those likes, I guess?
oh,
I'm not a Twitter person, so I'm sorry
I'm
if
trying
I
to
like
remember. No, you're fine. I'm trying to remember. It was I think my first I remember growing really, really fast. I remember like in my first 2 weeks, I had already had about 4,000 followers.
wow.
Maybe my first week, I can't remember. It's either the first week or the first 2 weeks. But I remember I remember at the time people were literally I would come across people even like tweeting about me and wondering if I was a bot or wondering if I was fake because I was
What?
growing so fast. Yeah. People were like, is she even real? Like she's putting
I'm
out
the
cheat
person who
sheets.
does that to like other people. Like I don't like I'm pretty like I lurk on the internet a lot. I'm not like a social media poster, but I'm like assume bot until proven otherwise.
Literally. So that's what it was for me. People are like, there's no way this is a real person. Like she's growing too fast. She's putting out content. Like I was putting out like just cheat sheets and like little threads, whatever I was taking at the time, whatever course. Like one semester I was taking an operating systems class. So I did a lot of content on cron jobs and Linux commands and how to do XYZ in the terminal and whatever. And then another semester I took fundamentals of networking, so like Wireshark and tracing packages and all that jazz. Like I was kind of just whatever semester classes I was taking, I was trying to just, that was my theme for the few months kind of and that people really resonated with that. I feel like I was able to kind of like cherry pick from topics, and I think that resonated with whoever audience was in those, in those kind of those little
Courses.
compartments.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
So did you have like a lot of college students, or were they also professional?
I think early on I had a lot of students follow me just because I feel like early on I really tried to maintain like I'm just putting content out that I is helping me and that I'm even sharing with my fellow classmates, and I'll put this out here if it helps anybody. Like disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I'm just a college student, but this has seemed to help me and my classmates.
Mhm.
So I've always tried to maintain that branding that I'm just amateur. If
Right.
this helps you, that's so great. If not, if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me too, because I'm
Mhm.
I'm still learning and I'm still new in all of this. And I think having that framing my content like that, I feel like has really like attracted professionals and students. Because even a lot of professionals, are still learning, they still may learn something from me and vice versa. So having that open mind, I feel like I've been able to attract a lot of people like that. I think I feel like a lot of people in my replies are pretty open minded um and uh and pretty chill. you know.
That's one of those things I've always really appreciated. And I think especially coming from, I never had any kind of like formal tech or like IT or comp sci degree to like moving over to the tech industry is like I started as a solution engineer, so like the technical experts on sales calls, and like basically started with like zero, took a couple coding certifications on free code camp and like started building up my knowledge from there. So like I just remember like, and I still do it, like going through blogs, articles, cheat sheets, and all that stuff, just because you're starting with the fundamental building blocks that you need to learn first. I would like read an article, be like, I have 1,000 questions on what like 20 of these terms mean. So like having that perspective of coming at it from like a learner's beginner attitude, and even just when you get into your more like technical advanced types of content, like still just making sure you define concepts throughout. I've always like found that like super something I very much appreciate and value. And it's also kind of like a bit of like a superpower too, because like even just take on our team now with like you and I both having like Jeff has is Jeff technically still your manager? I know you're saying Miguel's like
Yeah,
your yeah, so you have like two
yeah,
managers, but like having someone like
basically.
yeah, like Jeff who for people who don't know, is both Layla and I as managers. He's like a very senior, high up product manager and like the product manager for database tools. And the way that he thinks, just because he has like all of this knowledge from so many years, all the building blocks and like fundamentals, it's subconscious to him. So it's like, oh, if he's like reading through something, he'll be like, I like he kind of fills in those blanks versus I'll be like,
Yeah.
hey, it might be good for us to like give a little bit more explanation here because like I don't even know, like I don't know what this is like referring to kind of thing. So it is kind of cool how even though we can't match, say people with like decades of experience, we still kind of
Mhm.
have that eye with like how we can contribute value.
And
Seriously, Jeff is. Oh, you go ahead, Rama.
oh, I was just going to say that I think that is something that Oracle is becoming more aware of. The fact that I feel like back in the day, for me at least, it was really hard to find some information, complete information from zero. And now we have people like us that are coming from, hey, we just graduated and we want to learn things from zero. And we kind of want to understand things from foundation to becoming an expert. So we are the ones that, also bring that into the table of, can you please go like a level below that? Because I definitely also run into that a lot of, I'm sitting here but I'm not understanding anything and I'm googling a terminology that requires me to Google again, so like I go into this whole loop of, I just lost what I was thinking, or like I just lost what I was actually trying to learn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So never
that's
lose
exactly
that
me.
skill.
Yeah, Jeff's pretty incredible for sure. I feel like he has just such a one thing I really admire about Jeff is he has such a like a balance when it comes to product management and actual coding and software development. Whereas, being on Twitter and whatnot, product managers are usually just product managers. They just manage the product and, they manage expectations and deadlines and etc. But what I've really admired about Jeff is that he can be so hands-on with the actual coding element of whatever project that we're doing. Like he is not only just managing the product, he could literally provide some insight into how we can build the product because he can actually code himself, which I think is just so. I feel like that's so cool about being a product manager that you could actually code, you
Yes.
know. So that's yeah, Jeff's awesome. I've been really 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 grateful to have leadership even as an intern and then now as, a full-time engineer, have leadership that are just incredible. Like Jeff is incredible. Chris Rice, VPs, another incredible mentor of mine, like Jeff, and then Kay Malcolm as well. She senior director of database product management. Kay Malcolm's incredible too. So there's just so many, like as you guys were saying, so many incredible people at Oracle.
Yeah.
It's
We both have, I'm excited for when we get to it in your story, but like we both have that shared, like we owe our career getting into database tools to like Kay and Jeff, like getting us
It's
in.
true.
Yeah.
It is true.
Like that whole thing with like Jeff being technical and like able to back it up with that like coding ability, that's something that like I find super inspiring because I don't know, like just the way my personality is wired, I don't like to just leave things at like the surface level, like, oh, we need to do this. Why? Like just because. Like I always like want to go deeper and find out. And the fact that it's just like we get to just be in this ecosystem of people who have been at Oracle forever, are like IC6 and like high up management who just have this like super incredible and like awe-inspiring and extremely intimidating knowledge. It's just like I want to learn the technical stuff and as quickly as possible, just so like I'm not a liability. And so I feel like I'm holding my weight. Because like you guys like know so much. And there is like this feeling of like, if I'm gonna be like around you people, like it's like Jeff and stuff, most directly for me, it's like I want to take advantage of that learning opportunity and try to like absorb as much of your like Jeff brain as I can, just like while I have that access to you.
Right. That's exactly how I feel the same about Jeff and Chris for sure. Chris is awesome. Like I feel like I really got a chance to learn a lot from Chris too this summer as an intern, and having a VP be pretty hands-on with you as an intern, I was like super, like super lucky. And then a senior director, Kay, I mean for you, like you as well, and um it's been incredible. I feel like I've just been like surrounded and supported since like my first summer um at Oracle. So
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah. So
lucky.
let's get back to the like how you got to that internship point. So you made your Twitter basically just like as a result of the pandemic, looking to connect and you're trying to learn this domain. You've switched over to focusing on comp science school and you're turning out content. Like what's the kind of bridge from that to getting reached out to by Oracle for the internship opportunity?
Um, yeah, the bridge for that was definitely gosh, I don't remember which semester I took database programming. But I remember I believe I can't remember if this was I think it was after, I think maybe COVID had calmed down at this point, because I remember I was back on campus in the computer lab. I think it was like a not asynchronous, but we were in the computer lab quite a bit. So I was tweeting a ton about Oracle database on Twitter. I remember I was looking back on my tweets the other day. I was basically just like taking pictures of my computer in the computer lab and kind of like sharing my journey learning Oracle SQL and using um, the Oracle database or Oracle SQL developer, like in the command line and the actual application as well. It was it's it, my whole class and I. It was funny. My professor really preferred us to use Oracle SQL developer in the command line. So he really preferred for us to write our SQL literally in the terminal, which was so miserable. I remember after like a little bit deeper into the semester, after really tweeting about Oracle database a lot and actually connecting on Twitter. I think it was with Jeff. I remember I searched in the search bar like Oracle SQL just to see who the top creators were that would pop up, who was making content about that. And I remember I think Jeff was one of them. So I remember following him and like started to interact with his content. And I remember like replying just so pumped because I was taking the class at the time, and I remember he would come out with his updates that he does now still, like no joke. And I remember replying to a few and just like, oh, this is so pumped, like I'm gonna tell my whole class about this, like they're gonna think it's so cool. And then I remember I think I had like Kay liked my one of my replies, I think it was. I was like, who is Kay? Malcolm. I was like, who is this? Her bio said senior director. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll follow. So I followed her, and then I believe it was like a few. I randomly get a DM from her, from Kay. Oh wait, no. First I get a DM from Jeff. Jeff basically was like, hey, I saw you're, a student, taking, this class. If there's anything we can do to, make, your learning experience, you and your classes better, just let me know. And I was like, this is cool as heck. I was like, thanks for reaching out.
Honestly, okay, like me thinking of like a college student getting a reply from like a distinguished product management at Oracle, you know what I mean? Like I wonder
Yeah.
if other companies does that, but like I think it's showing that we really care about every user, not
Jeff is
just
so awesome
our
about
big
that.
companies or whatever.
Yeah, he
That's
backs up his
Literally the
awesome.
client.
everyday Joe, like the
Yeah.
everyday Joe, not just like
Exactly.
massive corporations like, Lululemon or IKEA or
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes. I don't, there's a long list. I can't even remember all of them that Oracle is partnered with, and that companies that use Oracle. But then after that, I'm sure Jeff and Kay talked about me in the background. I think they did. I believe I was told they did. Because I get a DM from Kay shortly after, Twitter DM, that basically was like, we love your enthusiasm and your passion. And basically she asked me if I would like to intern in like 2 months, the summer, upcoming summer, which was in 2 months at the time. And I remember going to my husband, and I'm like, what do you think about this DM? I remember thinking it was a scam. I remember like, this is
A
not
bot, a
real.
robot.
Like this isn't how it works, right?
Yeah.
Like
My husband was like, let's do some research first before you reply. But
Right.
like, I was like, this is real. We were like, this is real. Um, so I was definitely geeking out. Um, my husband too. Just like crazy, like chance, not chance, but just like, felt like one in a million that I would
like the weird
come across.
serendipity that came together there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after that, it snowballed so fast. Like it literally went 0 to 100. In 2 months, I was already an intern. And it was, yeah, no, I mean, I applied after the fact to the application, but they really, really pushed me through. I feel like, I mean, they saw, I remember they told me they saw like XYZ in me, and they just knew that I was gonna provide a lot of value. And um, I honestly have never really had people believe in me like that before. So it was really, that first summer I really like started out of the gate, working hard and just wanting to prove my value and my worth. So then, going into the second summer, I felt like I was just kind of reiterating that again, and trying to, keep building, on the connections that I made with Jeff and Chris and Kay and, everybody at Oracle. So yeah.
So, what do you think would be like the 3 skills that got you that internship? And how was your experience starting your internship with Oracle?
Um, 3 skills. I'd
Like,
have to
I would
say,
think that definitely the social media part, like reaching out to people in social media was a really big one because that's how you got your visibility, right?
mhm, yes, I think, um, you know, definitely there's a lot of times where I really didn't know what I was doing, even before making the Twitter, then, after making the Twitter. So I feel like um, perseverance probably for one, if not a skill, but
Mhm.
there was a lot of points where it was just would have been the easiest thing to just give up, just to stop. Um, my count's not growing the way that I want. I'm like, everybody's landing jobs. All my fellow friends in real life that I went to high school with, they're like already like in full-time job. Like I'm
All that fun
XYZ.
pressure.
Yeah, a lot of comparing yourself, a lot of comparing, but the visibility from social media that just that really helped a ton. Obviously, like I feel like competency has to come along with visibility, and that's something I was actually. It's funny enough, I was at Oracle, a new grad event last week, and they were talking about visibility and competency, and kind of how having a high visibility with a low competency isn't really ideal, and then, vice versa, low visibility with a high competency. Nobody can see that you're killing it. Nobody can see how much you know. Um, but then a high visibility, everybody can see that like what you don't know, and how much all the experience you don't have. But I feel like I really played into that, having high visibility but low competency, because
Yeah.
I'm new in this industry. I'm super new. I don't know everything. I probably know less than I do know. Like if that makes sense. I don't know a lot. There's a lot I don't know a lot. A majority I don't know. Um, so I feel like just being authentic and vulnerable in that has really like set me apart, especially with Oracle. Just you know trying to spark some new vibes with Oracle. Like I'm a learner, I'm a self-starter, and I think Oracle's cool. I think it's not as hard as everybody makes it out to be once you sit down and actually realize the strength and the power and the capabilities of Oracle database. I just think it's like a good thing doesn't happen overnight. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like sitting with it, learning it, and fine tuning it to your needs even because yeah, I'm rambling, but
No, I love that.
No,
There are
yeah.
like two things I really want to touch on that you said. The first is you and I were like talking over Slack just between the two of us a little bit about this. What's your whole thoughts on that like visibility versus competency thing? Because I understand the point that the person was like trying to make, which is like, hey, like sometimes too much attention isn't bad and not all attention is positive attention, but like especially as someone who's like had a huge amount of imposter syndrome, like I don't have any, like I kind of like waltzed my way into PM by accident after like only being a solution engineer for a year and a half, and before that I'd like no tech background, and there was definitely like a lot of insecurity, and there are just points where it's like I'm extremely introverted, like growing up by nature. With like my friends and people who I like trust, I'm close to, like I can be like very silly and outgoing, but like part of my journey has been like coming out of my shell a lot. And I think a big part of why I think I've been able to learn and grow so much with tech and just in my career so quickly at Oracle is that at a certain point, I kind of like took this attitude of what's the worst that they can do? Like if I'm an idiot, like fire me. It's like, okay, I'm young enough where I can get another job. So let's stop worrying about me trying to be like, even though I kind of have to be the expert, let's stop worrying about me being the expert and just focus on what do I know and what do I not know? And the more honest I found I have been about that, and the more I admit to people, like, hey, I don't know this or I'm confused by this, it just makes you learn quicker. And you kind of have to like remember that like no one expects you know everything coming out of the bat. And I feel like there's like this like idea in our head that we think we have to be, especially in this industry where it's so knowledge heavy. Like we have to be perfect. We have to know everything. But if we try to like hold ourselves to that kind of persona, it's just us holding ourselves back. We're not gonna learn as quick, and we're gonna be there's a chance to be like more miserable because of that whole like imposter syndrome, constantly kicking yourself, feeling like you're
yep.
not the person you're portraying type thing. So I don't know, like I guess with the whole like visibility thing, I've always looked at it as or I guess in the past couple years, I've looked at it as like, you know what, like screw it, let's do it. Like let's put ourselves out there. Do disclaimer, like I don't know everything. If you see something, like please be like polite about it. But I want to be called out so I can learn quicker.
Mhm.
And like even with
Yeah.
this podcast too, it's like I did not have very good public speaking skills before this. And Ramu and I have just mentioned how much it's helped us grow and talk about people who are like unqualified. We're two brand new product managers being like, hey guys, you want to hear like our advice and wisdom on product management when we like started 3 months ago, which was like essentially we started this like podcast pretty early into our career. So it's like, I don't know, it's interesting. Is that something you've like thought about or had like thoughts on just with your own experience?
I I don't know. I feel like what I the person I hope to be in 30 years, whenever I'm considered a professional, whenever I'm considered senior status, etc., whatever, I wanna I wanna I wanna be I wanna be on Twitter, and I wanna be surrounded by young creators like me, young product managers like you guys who are providing new insights, fresh, new thought of like creative aspects of things. Like these there's so many things that have been set in stone in this industry for so
Mhm.
long. I feel like every new generation that comes into tech, and the more balanced it becomes between men and women and all and our different minorities and ethnicities, everybody's bringing in these new fresh ideas and these new creative alternatives and ideas to things. And I want to be the 50-year-old engineer that's listening to you know, a young engineer's podcast like you guys, and is like, you know what, that's a really good way to think of that. And I, in my 40 years in this industry, haven't thought of it that way. And I feel like the best people, even it goes for life as well, being 60, 50, etc., having 20 years, 5 years of experience, we're always still learning and we don't know
Yeah.
everything. We could always be provided with new, insights and new perspectives of ways to think about things or learn things. So I
Yeah,
feel like what you guys are doing is really cool in that way. 50-year-old product managers can, provide or, be provided with you know, new ideas and perspectives.
those are literally the compliments like from Jeff that are some of the ones that like hit the hardest with me, that like it just makes me feel really good. Is like when he says things to me like, you keep me on my toes, and even after doing this for so long, like you make me think about things and like hit it from new angles I hadn't thought of. And like coming
Mhm.
from someone who I respect so much like him, that means a lot because like I don't have like those years of experience and like that whole you can still provide value thing. But the second thing I did
Yeah.
want to touch on too was you were talking, Ramu was asking like what were kind of like three things that led to you getting the internship. What was the like what is it that Kay and Jeff saw in you like at that time? And I'm curious like if they've mentioned to you what that thing is they saw in you, that like potential or whatever. But I want to share like what I've always really appreciated about you first, which is just like your energy, optimism, and like positive attitude. I feel like that's we have such like a credential economy now where all anyone cares about is like what degree do you have, what certifications, what school did you go to, and who do you know. But the more I like move into my career and like I guess the adult world, the more I'm kind of like noticing these patterns of these like the problems that we're dealing with is very loosely defined and usually ambiguous. It's very rare when like things are very straightforward. And one of the things I've been like appreciating is just how important mindset is for solving problems. And like when I went over from like I was like pretty just feeling down on myself like in my career in finance, realizing it wasn't for me. It was a good opportunity like out of school and I'm grateful I had it. But
Mm.
just the fact that I can make like such a hard pivot to tech and one that was successful and worked, that like filled me with like so much like holy shit, if I can do that kind of pivot, I can like it just opens you up to if I can accomplish this, what are the other things that I didn't think of for myself that I can do? And like I think like going through solution engineering and like working my butt off and that leading to me being recognized by Kay and Jeff also and getting into product management. And then like here still, from what I've heard, sounds like so far so good in what I'm doing. Like it just keeps this positive energy and like makes me want to stay optimistic. And it's like once I got that flame kind of burning, I want to be very careful about not letting it be extinguished. And with you, it's like there are times where I'll be like heads down, focused on my work. You can get like frustrated, especially working with like technical stuff, can beat yourself up at times. And like you can just like get in some foul moods sometimes just by nature of just being like deep in the work. And I like just seeing you on social media and chatting with you directly and just seeing this like positive, optimistic attitude that you have in this like sea of negativity that seems to be getting like more and more intense everywhere. It like inspires me. It's like I'll be like getting a little grumpy and you and I will just be like sharing our little dumbass jokes in Slack and like it makes me feel better. And I'm like, okay, like this rejuvenates me. It's like something I've noticed with you is that you really do help people kind of like kindle that positive flame and it affects like all those around you. And it's like a very impressive thing that's not something that can be like expressed on a resume.
I feel
Wow.
like I feel like Jeff and Kay have genuinely like said what you just said word for word. Jeff's literally said, I have this it factor. Have this it factor. He basically like I remember like I haven't talked to Kay in a hot minute. Being full time, her and I spoke a lot over the summers, my two internships. But a general theme I've noticed from getting feedback from Jeff and Kay is that um, like sparking excitement, passion, and maybe just like a little fun when it comes to Oracle database. Kind of breaking it down, trying to cater to young people, students like myself, not just like 40, 50, and see, I don't want to talk about age. 10, 20-year experienced developers that have been in the industry for a long time. They've tried Oracle database once and they didn't like it, and now they're never going to try it again. Um, I guess I was unknowingly sparking kind of reframing that mindset when it comes to Oracle database. Like this stuff is actually like not that hard if you would just sit down, like actually just watch my 5-minute video. Because like this will literally like just make it so easy for you. Um, Even for my fellow college students, SQL Developer Web was huge. I remember literally going to every single classmate in my computer lab going, do you know that this is literally like this is a thing that you could use in the your web browser, like you don't have to download, like you don't have to like install the application. Like look how easy this is. Like hello. So I feel like basically they told me they loved how I was just kind of reframing the mindset about Oracle database in general. And like yeah, like you said, I don't I guess I put out this like very um positive, optimistic, like genuinely excited and authentic. I just I feel like I just try to just be myself. Um, like as I've grown older, I've grown more comfortable being myself, and sometimes I'm too much for a lot of people. And when I was younger, I would try to tone myself down to
I'm
cater to
laughing because that describes my personality in a nutshell too.
yeah. So yeah, so as I've been getting older, I think social media too provides me like a safety blanket. Like I
Uh-huh.
feel more comfortable on social media than I do probably like at my new grad event at the Oracle campus. Um, just sometimes getting bombarded with people like, how did you start your social media? Like, what did you do? Like, how did you grow, like get so many followers? Like I'd have like 4 people around me like asking me multiple different questions, and I'm just like, y'all, I'm not good with like I'm still learning the in-person stuff. Like when
Uh-huh.
it comes to like talking about like I don't want to come across boastful or like braggy. Like I don't really know how I've gotten to where I am. Like I don't have like an exact formula. I genuinely don't. It's been like a good chunk of luck, and I feel like a lot of just perseverance and being so stubborn. I'm not going to give up. Like I know what I deserve and I want it, and I don't care how long it's going to take me. Um, I will land a job somewhere where I'm valued and I'm recognized for a lot of my strengths and my creativity um, and yeah. So I feel like it's like I said, just a bundle of luck and hard work um, and yeah, that luck, that visibility was huge because like me putting content out there and not having that visibility, I don't know if I'd be here right now.
Yeah. I think the fun thing that you mentioned too is so important because that's something I've noticed is like a little bit of a superpower is like the more I have fun with my work, the better it is and the more authentically it like resonates. Like especially because like I don't know, I guess this is like more so like a thought about content is there does seem to be like a group of people who kind of goes like, okay, what's my agenda first? And then like push it out. And then like a lot of it comes out like inauthentic. So we've learned how to tune it out. Like our generation, just because of the amount of information we have access to, I feel like our brains have gotten very good at like picking out fakeness, which is
Mm-hmm.
like why there's like such an opportunity. I think like people flock to like your content because I like remember when like one of like the first times I met you and like getting to know you, you kind of go like, okay, she's like super like optimistic, like bubbly, enthusiastic on social media. Like just the kind of question that you ask yourself on everyone. You're like, is that kind of like an act a little bit, or like what's going on there? And it's like you meet you in person and just like on FaceTime calls and all the other stuff with remote work. And you're like, okay, no, this is the same exact person, like inside and out. And that's like why you resonate with people. Like it's interesting to see. And like even with the whole stubbornness too, it's like I think that's huge because I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast, but it's like I got rejected from Oracle like 3 times
Yeah,
before I
you
got
did
my
share that.
solution engineering job. It's just like I do have like, and Jeff's seen it where it's like I might not have my timing all that great yet on when I'll get stuff done, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna run at that wall until like either I get a concussion or I break through, like kind of thing. And like especially with tech, I feel like that's like so important and just fixing your like gaze on something and like locking onto it.
Yeah, I that's a lot of I feel like I've always been that way. Just very I've always been very stubborn. You know, especially with sports. I'm very competitive and I would stay hour, 2 hours after practice until I got something right. Um, so I feel like that's definitely translated into a lot of different ways as an adult now. You know, I knew with my Twitter that that I wanted to treat it as a tool. I didn't want to just treat it as just, become an influencer. I wanted to be known, like I've said earlier, I want to be known for something of substance. I want to be known for really good content, really helpful content. Maybe if even if it just helps one person. And I remember telling myself that, even in 2021, posting my first blog post, and um, I was just telling myself, even if this just helps one person, even if I just get one comment, like that's a win. If maybe even just 20 views, 50, um, like setting, and it's not even having expectations, but setting the expectations low and just my hopes, high. I'm hopeful that it'll help at least one person. I'm hopeful that, maybe a student will come across my story of my journey, a community college student, and will continue to be motivated, or will be, I'll spark some sort of passion in them to where maybe they were about to give up and now they won't. Um,
Yeah.
so but yeah.
I'm wondering why you picked Twitter and not LinkedIn, because I feel like LinkedIn, maybe it's a generational thing because I'm definitely not a Twitter person, but I feel like LinkedIn will be more of like my professional looking for things if I'm not Googling something.
Yeah, I think I liked Twitter just because early on I was looking for that sense of community. I kind of wanted to hear from other people that were also struggling, like
Mhm.
taking classes, coding classes, fully remote, like basically teaching myself, like going
Mhm.
through the lectures and teaching myself. wanted to be surrounded by others that were also doing the same thing and struggling, and because not, being able to go on campus, I'm not surrounded by my, fellow students that were also struggling. And um, so I think the sense of community with Twitter really attracted me a lot at first. Being able to reply to someone, have them reply to me, and maybe engage in like a meaningful discussion about a concept that I don't know about or I'm not very familiar with. Um, and then me providing content myself, maybe the way that I'm thinking about a concept is a way that someone else hasn't thought about it, and maybe that clicks with them better than, the 10,000 other articles that they've gone through.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of how I've tried to do it.
And did you feel like you're okay? So we were talking about how whatever you learn in school sometimes doesn't apply to your work, you know? So did that happen when you started your internship? And what was the difference between, being an intern and being a full-time? Does it change the way you're, have to tackle your tasks? Or because for example, when Zach and I were doing class off, it was more of like a getting to know Oracle process, and of course getting to know a little bit of the technology. But then when we switched to product management, our mode of thinking about things were more of like, we have to produce, we're
Training
not
wheels were off.
learning anymore. Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like being an intern was that was my first kind of overview of what it even is like to be an actual real engineer. Nothing like school, we don't use GitHub at school. No Git, no version control, no sprints, and some of the time you're writing code in Notepad. I've actually written code on paper for, one of my first Python courses. So it's just things are just night and day. Um, and that's kind of part of the reason why I didn't go for my bachelor's and I just went for my associate's degree in computer programming. Um, just because, I mean, what I've learned in school, I mean, yes, it helped me problem solve. Yes, it helped me, have basic knowledge of the fundamentals of programming, object-oriented programming, modular, it's all of that. That's
Wait,
great,
quick,
but
quick. Sorry about that. So you didn't go through for your bachelor's, you just got your associate. Wow, that is incredible. Okay,
thank
so
you.
that stereotype of, these big companies don't go for, people that don't have a bachelor's degree, like let's throw that to trash, basically.
Yes, literally. I mean, and it's as I've been on Twitter, I interact with a lot of people from India. Obviously things are way different there, versus the United States. But here in the US, things are really starting to shift. Like the curriculum is just so outdated. If we really want to level the playing field for new grads coming into the software engineering industry, then we really need to increase the quality of our curriculum when it comes to computer science. I mean, I'm writing TypeScript, I'm dealing with React, I'm transpiling ES6 modules to UMD. I'm using things that I've never even known of while I was in school at all.
Mhm.
I maybe took one web programming class, and that was HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There's really no intensive front end development degree plan at any university for any computer science because it's computer science.
Mhm.
Um, for me, and it's not that I'm coming into this as a fully front end dev, but Python, C++, etc. Those are all still used day to day, but it doesn't really hit on the niche frameworks that are so used nowadays. TypeScript, JavaScript frameworks, even Tailwind. Like there's just so much that's used now that aren't like we're behind the curve when we come out of college. Like, it's me learning TypeScript on my own, after because I don't really know about TypeScript, and it's and React as well, Preact, is and so it's but it's good practice because I'm never gonna stop learning in this job. So I need
Exactly.
to get used to asking questions and get used to feeling uncomfortable and get used to not knowing.
Definitely. And if you could share any of the resources that you use outside of work to learn all of these things, that would be awesome. I feel like a lot of people would like that.
Yeah, should I send them to you guys later
Yeah.
or
Yeah, if
Yeah,
any
so we
come
can
like
put them in
top
the
the head
description.
now, like you can mention them, but we can put it in the on the
okay.
podcast, like description.
I know this might be horrible, but would y'all mind if we maybe ended at like 12 so I could
Yeah,
have a little time before my next meeting?
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
that's the plan that we
Okay.
had.
Okay,
Yeah, did
cool.
you need to? We got it's 7 minutes till 12. Can you go until 12, or do you want to like
Yeah.
stop a couple minutes before? Okay,
No, we're
perfect.
good.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
we can start to wrap things up.
Actually, can I go get some water, more water
Yeah,
real quick? Okay.
we can
Okay,
like
I'll be
cut this
right.
out.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we'll
sorry,
cut
one
out of it.
sec.
This is long, definitely, for some people.
I know
We're
it's
so
so
used to it, so
I know it's like we go like this
and there's
is
just so much to talk about, you
I
know?
I know like I was like literally thinking like we need to get Layla back on just for a round two at
We
some
should.
point. But
Yeah.
it is funny because this will probably be like an hour 15 episode. But
Mhm.
we've gotten used to the marathon talking. That's like
I
another skill
know.
that's nice. It's like I
I
used to
could
be like
like
so terrified when we sat down to like what the heck are we going to talk about for an hour and a half?
we always have something to talk about though.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, there's a lot of questions. There's like a lot of things that I'm like curious about, you know? Because I thought she was talking about, because you know how some community colleges have 4-year degrees, like actually 4-year degrees. So you do computer science for 4 years, but she got an associate. That is crazy.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit like at the time because she was an intern at Oracle during it, and like that
Mm.
was like kind of like a big decision. She was like weighing like, do I like stay on longer for the bachelor's? Feel like I go for like the associate? How's that going to kind of affect the Oracle recruiting, if at all? Because it is an interesting game where
Mhm.
we have all like, especially as a college student, you have like all these preconceived notions where it's like, in order for companies to care about us, we got to do like this, and this, and so much of it is just like the status quo. And like
Mhm.
when you actually like talk to these people at these companies, they're like, we don't really care about this. And I do think there is, I wonder if there's like any way to solve this. I do
Mhm.
wonder if there's like a bit of like an HR recruiting problem where they're looking for certain buzzwords and there's a bit of a cognitive dissonance between what the actual management and like people in the role find important versus
Right.
like, oh, the research shows that people who have like these skills and these degrees and this credentials like filter for them. Like you miss out on people that way,
A
like
hundred
by not
percent.
thinking outside the box. But there's so many candidates to like filter through, so it's a hard problem. But
Yeah.
but yeah, we could because we only have 5 minutes, we can have you send the resources that we could put in a description just to save time. But is there
Okay.
like any removes there like any
Mm,
kind of like last minute questions, like final ones that we want to wrap things up on that comes to mind, or like any last thing you
Um,
want to mention, Layla, before we go?
Um, I trying to think. Honestly, I guess not. Um, I would just say to anybody who's feeling discouraged or unmotivated, I've been there, and even though it seems like low visibility, nobody's giving you a chance, uh, nobody's noticing you. I've just been there, and it's so daunting. Like you have this goal that you just really want so bad, um, and I would just recommend don't give up. Keep working hard with no expectations. Um, Even though that's like easier said than done, literally. It's so hard not to have expectations for things that you're putting such hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into. Um, but I feel like the universe rewards authenticity and hard work. So
Yeah,
that's all I would say.
yeah, especially for college students, like I think one of the big jarring things is you start to apply to all these jobs and like the dozens of rejection letters that you can get when it's like you don't even get a first round and you're just
Definitely.
like, oh shoot, that could be so discouraging. But kind of like you said, don't keep your head down, like keep working, find something to do, but also don't just like sit around banging your head against the wall of the same problem. Um, if something's not working, like find creative ways to get your foot in the door. Like you obviously did it through creating content in social media, and I'm
Yep.
sure there's like plenty of other ways, like reaching out to people on LinkedIn, like asking to get coffee, someone who inspires you in your area, like just finding ways to stand out would be like really helpful for getting past those like roadblocks that most of us face.
Yeah, it's standing out. It's hard, especially when the industry is kind of over a little saturated right now. When it comes to so many amazing engineers, like there's so many amazing talented developers, creating personal projects and putting just amazing tools out there that aren't getting that visibility. So especially while I'm on Twitter, I always try to, I a motto for me is that usually the most hardworking, knowledgeable devs usually don't have a social media presence, and if they do, it's
Mm-hmm.
quite small, because they're not putting a lot of their time into growing a social media presence. So I always try to look for those people that are putting out that amazing content that caters to me and what I'm doing, and it may not get a lot of views, but I read through it and this person knows what they're talking about. They may not have the visibility, but they have the competency all the way. So,
Well,
and I also I TypeScript
mhm.
lang.org. That's one of a website that I use for
Mhm.
trying to get really get good with TypeScript. And then there's a React 101 course on Codecademy that I've gone through, and that was really helpful with just trying to, since we're using Preact at on the database tools team on the Live SQL project, that they're doing the React course really helped me kind of move it over to use it with Preact. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
We'll make
thank
sure
you
that
for
we get
sharing.
all those links for the description before we post this and we'll check with you. But yeah, definitely appreciate your time, like coming on the podcast. Would
Yeah.
love to have you for like a round two at some point. Cause I know Ramu and I were saying when you're getting your water, it's like I still have so many questions and
Oh,
like really enjoyed this
yeah.
conversation. But yeah.
Yeah, me too. I know the holidays coming up, so and like we have a code freeze starting. I think it's December. I think after we come back from Thanksgiving. So things are like ramping up hard. I don't. It's my first experience with the deadlines and all that jazz. So we'll definitely do a round two. For sure. Maybe after the holidays when
Yeah,
everyone's has more time. So
that sounds
Thank
good.
you. Welcome
Yeah,
to
thank you.
Oracle.
I know. Welcome to
And
thank
Oracle.
you.
Congrats on your
I'm
full-time
so
offer.
happy that you're a girl, like we need more girls
Ramu,
in
I
tech.
know.
So
I know. Oh my, I see. I seriously. I've been trying my best to like any like I'm trying to recruit some interns from my community
yes.
college. So I'm like all the girls in my computer science club. I'm like, hey, are you possibly interested in being an intern? Like we need some more female devs. Even though I love my dev team, but I could use one more girl
Yeah,
on my
yeah.
team, So well, it's nice to meet you, Ramu.
Nice meeting you
Yeah.
too. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes,
We'll
y'all
see
have both have a
everyone.
great day.
Yeah, Dallas
Have a
technically
good day.
managing 16. See you all later.
Bye.